Well, good afternoon to you on this Friday edition of First Alert Weather Extra. Overall weather looking great for today. Temperatures did warm up, and it's worth mentioning the high temperature in Lake Charles today actually broke the record set previously back 70 years ago, back in 1956 at 83. Well, today we will rewrite the history books to put an 84 for the record high. The reason why it got so warm today, the air was much drier. That's all thanks to the cold front that moved through this morning, and it's still warm outside. Temperatures still setting in the low 80s in many spots. 81 currently at the Lake Charles Regional Airport. Now, after sunset, those temperatures will begin to fall back, and obviously sunset in about 45 minutes or so from now. That 81-degree temperature is coupled with northerly winds at 10 miles per hour and dew points that are down into the 50s. One temperature that kind of sticks out here, though, is at the coast in Cameron, which has kind of been going back and forth between 69 to 70 degrees. 70 degrees because the wind is out of a southerly direction. That's off the cooler Gulf waters. Water temperature setting near the coast at 65. So anytime the wind's off the water, it's going to be cooler. And that's why the temperature is noticeably lower for you guys. Earlier today, we did have northerly winds, and we had temperatures that were even warmer. Tonight's temperatures will be falling back, and I mentioned the wind. I'll show you those wind speeds across the area. We're thankfully not too extreme. 5 to 10 mile per hour winds across the area versus the near 30 mile per hour gusts we've seen the last several days. Live look outside. There is some smoke visible in the sky, depending on which direction you look and where you are. There have been a few prescribed fires going on earlier today. You might be saying, well, I thought there was a burn ban. Well, there is, but as we always say, remember, those burn bans do not apply to the professionals that do fire for a living, especially in the forested area. You can see some of those going on, especially north of our area, up in the portions of the Kisatchie National Forest, a fire west of Winfield, another one north of Alexandria. So yeah, that's where some of that smoke you may be seeing is coming from. And I'm sure there are other smaller agricultural related fires at times and places. Those are very common. We also still have a few marsh fires ongoing in Cameron Parish. Those too are quite common this time of year. Look at the visible satellite. Not a lot to see because not a whole lot of clouds around. It's actually a pretty good fire visible over here off to the west of our area on visible satellite over near just south of Sam Rayburn Reservoir, west of Jasper. That looks like smoke is actually, or looks like clouds is actually smoke. Now into Vernon Parish we go. You can see that's a fire going on just south of the Leesville area. I'll zoom in a little closer and you can see where I'm talking about. Notice how right there you see that blow up of clouds. That's not clouds, that is smoke from a fire earlier today. Again, that was another one of those controlled fires that were planned, at least from everything that I have been told. Otherwise, not a whole lot of clouds now visible. We'll look farther south where you can still see just a few little puffy cumulus clouds. Obviously, there is no rain from any of those few little clouds around. Look at Futurecast for tonight. Temperatures will drop back pretty quick now after sunset. In fact, by 9 o'clock tonight, everyone should be into the 60s. So if you have evening plans, just keep in mind those temperatures are going to drop fairly quick. We're not going all that cold, but cooler than the last few days. We'll look ahead to your Saturday morning. If you're getting up early, around 7 a.m., temperature should be in the low to mid 50s, warmer near the coast. But even here, all of these numbers about 10 to 12 degrees cooler than where we've been, especially earlier this week when we had mid 60s for morning lows. But notice the wind arrows already turning back to the south tomorrow. Yes, southerly winds will be coming back. I think overall the humidity stays low enough that it's not all that uncomfortable tomorrow. And it also means temperatures will warm up pretty quick. We should reach the low 80s for highs once again tomorrow. But notice near the coast, it's much cooler and there are clouds along the coastline. That's again that sea breeze boundary that will definitely keep those of you in Cameron noticeably cooler. Then I want to fast forward to tomorrow night. Notice all that gray lifting northward tomorrow evening. That is fog. It is likely to be foggy. That's tomorrow night into Sunday morning. Tonight, I don't see any concerns with fog around the area with the air being so dry. So here's the weather map. You can see the front to our east bringing some much needed rain to the state of Florida. Places over there have been in a pretty severe drought as well. As you can see, that frontal system continues to work its way south. For us, high pressure crosses our state tomorrow. That's why the winds will gradually turn southerly. By Sunday, that high is setting well east of here, and that gives us a full day of southerly winds across the area. Looking at the long-range model here, I still have questions on what we'll see as far as next week. No doubt it's going to be warm. Temperatures are not going to change as there's no other frontal systems, but it's a question on this rain that the model starts showing by Tuesday and a better coverage Wednesday and Thursday. And I will freely admit at this point, I still have doubts as to whether or not this actually occurs. I hope it does. We really need the rain, and we need more than the slight bit of sprinkles that most of us saw yesterday. So let's hope the model's right, but I will admit I'm leaving the rain chance at about 10% going into much of next week for now. We may increase those chances for rain once our confidence gets higher that it actually is going to play out. And I say that because models have had a track record over the last few months of showing things in the beyond 3-day time range. And then when you get closer to the event actually happening, it's far less than what has been advertised previously in time, meaning the models are likely overdoing it. At some point, they will get it right, which is why I'm telling you it is something we will continue to monitor. Here's some good news. You're trying to go out on the boat. Tomorrow should be a pretty nice day for it. East winds may become southerly at times, especially out over the Gulf waters. I think we will have southerly winds, but fairly light, probably 5, maybe 10 knots at best. Inland areas should be even lighter and probably more variable. They will become southerly at some point, though. Seas may be up to 1 to 2 feet. Overall, just a light chop on our lakes and bays, maybe even fairly smooth in some instances. There's a look at our hunting and fishing information, our outdoor forecast. Sunrise continues to get earlier. Sunset continues to get later. That's a sign of spring getting ever closer and closer. And officially, meteorologically, we always say spring begins on March 1st, which of course is Sunday. Now, on the calendar, it's a few more weeks away, but whether or not we see more cold weather, that's still up for some debate, too. I've had a lot of people asking me, should I plant yet, or is it okay to plant things outside? My answer is still what I said, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about this here on First Alert Weather Extra. If you are willing to have to cover or bring in said plants, by all means, go ahead and do it. This weekend's going to be a perfect one to be out and about doing that sort of activity. Or if you're planting in smaller pots to transplant, yes, by all means do that. Now, if you're putting things physically in the ground that could be damaged by frost, if we happen to see that in the future, again, be mindful that you may have to protect those plants. If you don't want to go through all that hassle, let's give it a couple more weeks, and then I feel better about telling you yes or no that it is safe to plant. So it's kind of a tiered answer there on whether or not it is good to go ahead and plant or not. I'll be honest, I'll probably be planting a few things this coming weekend at my house, but I'm doing it in larger pots that, if we happen to get frost, will be easy to bring back under cover to prevent frost damage. Our 10-day forecast definitely has no worries about any sort of cold weather over the next 10 days. That includes this weekend and next weekend as well, with highs in the upper 70s, near 80 degrees almost each and every day. Morning low temperatures will be a little cooler the next couple of mornings thanks to the dry air, but once the humidity comes back Sunday, those temperatures also increase back into the mid-60s. And fog will probably be a nightly concern again starting at some point next week, maybe as early as Sunday morning, but for sure well into next week. Well, that'll conclude things for this Friday edition of First Alert Weather Extra. I'll be back over on the television side here in about 20 minutes with another look at the forecast. Otherwise, I'll be back here Monday afternoon at 5:30 with the next edition of First Alert Weather Extra. That'll conclude things for this afternoon. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll send you back to regular programming here on our streaming devices.